So these are the second notes of Unit 4, which you can find on page 6 of your virtual packet, and it's about states of matter. So there are three main states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. These are the first words that you can write to fill in your notes. Then there's also a fourth state of matter, which is called plasma. And plasma is a gas with so much energy that the atoms actually split into ions, which are made by gaining or losing electrons. We actually see plasma in a couple of places. This is like a science demonstration, but in between the middle ball and the outside sphere, there's some plasma there. In fluorescent light bulbs, they emit light because when we turn them on, we create a plasma. And lightning is another example of a plasma. So that is a fourth state of matter that we're not going to discuss as much as these other main three in physical science. What controls what state of matter a substance is? The answer is the temperature, the average energy of the particles in an object. That dictates whether or not an object is solid, liquid, or gas. So in order to show this relationship, we can use an energy curve. An energy curve illustrates the relationship between energy and temperature for different materials. So here on the bottom, we have energy, how much energy we add to an object or to a material. And then on the left side, we have the temperature. And we'll see how these two things affect one another. So make sure you write energy, temperature, and materials on your notes. For the graph on your notes, I'm going to ask that you draw this curve because this curve describes most materials. And so this is the shape that you should draw. It consists of 3 diagonal sections and then 2 horizontal sections in between those diagonal ones. What this shows is that as we add energy to a material, the temperature rises and then the temperature stays consistent for a little bit before rising again. And so even as we add energy, the temperature takes breaks in rising, and we'll talk about why that happens in a moment. Now, to describe the different phases of matter, looking at this energy curve, we can start by looking at when there's the least amount of energy and the least amount of temperature, like when we're at absolute zero. And so when any material is at that temperature, the particles in that material are not moving at all. And so we can call that object a solid, or that's the state of matter that it would be in, right? And so as we add energy to a solid, the particles will start to move a little bit, and they'll continue to move more and more until eventually, when we get to this section, we add energy and the particles stop moving faster. We'll talk about what happens there in a moment. But during this time, the object will stop being a solid and become the second phase of matter, which is a liquid. All right, and then we see the same process here, that as we add energy to a liquid, that the temperature of that liquid also increases. And then the last section up here is gas. So then it's interesting to determine, what do these horizontal sections of the graph mean? And if we're going from a solid to a liquid, we call that process melting. So if you think of an ice cube or a stick of butter, if it goes from solid to a liquid, it is melting. And if we go from a liquid to a solid, that we call freezing, right? And so during this time, we add energy or take energy away, and it doesn't affect the temperature, but it does change from one phase to another. And so that has a name, and it takes energy. Same thing, we have names for when something goes from a liquid to a gas, we call it evaporation. And when something goes from gas to a liquid, we call it condensation or condensing. So make sure that you draw this curve on your notes, and then also label the 3 phases of matter and the different processes as they change from one phase to another. And at the end of your notes, we can write down that state of matter is related to energy. So as energy of the particles as energy of the particles is in a substance increases, so as we move left to right on that energy curve, then the temperature also increases. And the state of matter changes from solid to liquid to gas, because after the temperature increases a certain amount, then the state of matter changes to a different state. Before the temperature increases again, it changes to another state, and so forth. Thank you for watching.